I'm William. This is the wine room at Putnam Market in Saratoga Springs. And next few weeks I'm going to talk about learning from the label. And there's obviously things that you can expect to learn from the label, like what kind of grape variety was it used, whether it's red wine or white wine or sparkling wine. But there's other stuff that you can learn from the label, and that's what I'm going to be exploring for the next few weeks. So in front of me here I've got 4 bottles of wine. 2 of them are Cabernet Sauvignon, and they both come from the west coast of the United States, and 2 of them are Sauvignon Blanc, and they both come from France. But what I'm going to suggest to you is that in one very important respect, these 2 and these 2, let's get this right, these 2 and these 2, there we go, have more in common with each other than the ones that share the grape variety. And specifically, what these 2 have in common is that I know who grew the grapes, I know who made the wine, and I know where they were. With these 2, I've got no idea. So, what can a little detective work tell us? Here, we've got written on the back, mise en bouteille à la propriété par Roger et Didier Rainbow, and it says they come from Verdigny in France. But if we look here at the other French Sauvignon Blanc, we'll see at the bottom it says it's put in the bottle by not some nice named French person, but by EMB 71084A in France, and it was bottled for 5,5, and then it goes on to give us the zip code. Now, thanks to Google, we can look at French zip codes quite quickly, and we find that this comes from a village in the Macon called Channes, and that's the home of the 4th largest bottling plant in France. So this is clearly made to order. There's a bogus label on it, and probably the same wine appears under all kinds of different labels in all kinds of different markets. It's produced in enormous quantities, and the bottling plant and storage plant and blending plant, as I say, in the Macon is conveniently located close both to the Languedoc, close to Burgundy, close to the Loire Valley. And finally, we've got this wine here, and here it'll say on the back that it's from Walla Walla, which is good, but then at the bottom it says it's cellared and bottled by Chad Wine, and that means that Chad Wine bought the finished wine and put it in bottles themselves. So one of the things you should consider is that here the growers have got skin in the game. The people who grew the grapes have put their name on it, and if you like it, you can go back and buy it again, and if you don't, you can shun it. Here, you've no idea who grew the grapes, you've no idea who made the wine, all you know is that it was blended by somebody, and each year is likely to be different. Now, if that's the downside, the good side is that these are cheap and these aren't. Hi, I'm William. This is the wine room at Putnam Market in Saratoga Springs, and today I'm going to look at another hidden and useful piece of information that you'll find on the label of wine bottles, but which you may not have paid much attention to previously. So here we've got 2 bottles of champagne, both delicious, well worth drinking, I would say. And on the back there's some information which you might just simply overlook, but it says here that the base vintage for this wine was the vintage of the year 2018. Okay. And it says on this one that this wine was put into the cellars in 2015. Now, if it was put into the cellars in 2015, that means that the winemaking process would have been taking place over the winter between 2014 and 15. So for the base wine of this wine is probably mainly 2014. So here we've got 2018, here we've got 2014. Now there's one other piece of information we need before we can make any sense of this. And this is provided here, which is the degorgement date, or disgorgement as we say in English. And the disgorgement date is October 2020. So, approximately 2.5 years after, well, rather less actually, because if the base vintage was 2018, this would have been made 1819, and 18 months later, this wine was prepared, ready to go on sale. Okay, this one, which was made over the winter of 2014-15, was taken out ready for sale in 2018. So that's 15, 16, 17, 18. 4 years. 4 years. And that explains a number of things. Because the time spent in cellar is going to affect both the quality and the flavour of the wine, this wine is going to be more complex, this one's going to be fresher, this one's going to have a yeasty character because the character of the yeasts that have been kept in the cellar in this bottle will have influenced it more strongly because they've had more time to do that. Whereas here they didn't have as much time, and so there won't be as much of an influence of yeast. And crucially, it's going to tell you why this wine is cheaper than this wine, because there's a value of money through time. And whoever's making this wine, which is staying in the cellar for 4 years, has approximately twice the number of bottles per 1,000 euros of revenue in inventory as the person who makes this wine. Hi. I'm William. This is the wine room at Putnam Market in Saratoga Springs, and hidden on the label, learning from the label the things that you can glean from looking at the label, which goes a little bit beyond the grape variety or what it's going to taste like. And it's almost impossible in 2021 not to be aware that on every side people are talking about sustainability, people are talking about the environment, people are talking about carbon footprints. And so here's some things that are useful. This wine is organic. What does that mean? It means no pesticides, no fungicides, no herbicides. And it comes from the dry centre of Spain, where frankly no one's ever needed fungicides because it never is damp enough for that. So it's pretty easy for these guys to be organic. And you can see that on the back here it says USDA organic. That's what you need to look for. If that's there, you can be certain there's no fungicides, pesticides or herbicides. In addition, however, here you can see there is the Demeter accreditation, and the Demeter accreditation indicates that this is biodynamic, and what that means is that it follows a sustainable regimen which is more complicated than merely organic and involves all kinds of natural preparations and harmonizing the whole wine growing, wine making process with the celestial elements of the spheres. And finally, here we have an accreditation to say that this is vegan friendly, and you may well be thinking to yourself, well, how in heaven's name could wine not be vegan friendly? And the answer is that some of the products which are used to clarify wine are animal based, and in this case, clearly an alternative has been found. So if you're interested in sustainability and where your wines come from, these are the three of the symbols that you should be looking out for. Hi, I'm William. This is the wine room at Putnam Market in Saratoga Springs. And I've been talking recently about learning from the label and all of the various symbols that you can find on the back, which may or may not be entirely clear to you. It's also true that not everybody is completely straightforward in the wine business. It's alcohol after all, and I don't think alcohol has a hugely high reputation for ethical behaviour. Not that I'm suggesting that this is unethical, but there's some symbols on the back here which are clearly designed to inform the consumer. And there are three of them here. One of them here, which is, they're all quite small, rather hard to see, but this is in Portuguese because it's Portuguese wine. And this says that you should throw this bottle away in a bottle bank, into it should be recycled with green glass, which I think is pretty much stating the obvious. Here is an excellent symbol which has got a sort of silhouette of a woman who is clearly pregnant, and there's a line going through it. So this is, if you're pregnant, don't drink this, and I think probably most people know that. And then finally you've got this one here, which is the two interlocking arrows. And here surely we've got something which is to do with sustainability, and you must be thinking, well, maybe this bottle is from recycled glass perhaps, or perhaps there's a commitment to recycling. And I'm sorry to say that no, it doesn't mean any of those things. In fact, it means very little indeed. What it does mean, however, is that whoever's paid to put this on their label has made some sort of contribution to an environmental cause. But that is the whole length and breadth of what you can glean from these three rather meaningless symbols. Hi, I'm William. This is the wine room at Putnam Market in Saratoga Springs. Learning from the label. Last up here is a symbol which is increasingly becoming a familiar sight on wine bottle labels, and it's this one here. It's B, and this indicates that the winemaker is what's called a B Corporation. Now, B Corporation is an accreditation which is organised by a not-for-profit certifying body that will ensure that there is an environmental and a communication and a sustainability and an equality audit every 3 years to ensure that the company that produces this wine is behaving fairly to all of the constituencies to whom it may be beholden. Specifically, it's designed to reduce the primacy of shareholders' interests in any commercial enterprise and to create a more equal distribution of the benefits amongst customers, workers, suppliers, and of course the owners as well. So seeing that gives you some sort of indication that you're dealing with a company that places ethical standards high on their managerial agenda. And here we've got really the most environmentally friendly wine that I've ever seen, frankly, and it also has more labels on it and symbols on it than I've ever seen. It's fair trade for life. It's a certified B Corporation. 1% of all revenues go towards sustaining the planet, and the whole process is climate neutral. And I have to tell you, so much more environmentally friendly is aluminum in terms of weight, transport, packaging, and recyclability, that this is the very first, indeed the only wine that I've ever seen which has had this claim to be climate neutral. And I think this is going to continue to drive the debate as to whether it makes any sense in the 21st century for us to be putting inexpensive wine in heavy, expensive, and environmentally damaging glass.